All right. Well, hey, parents, welcome to this Zoom. I wanted to take the opportunity while we're all jumping on a bunch of different Zoom calls and doing everything we can to work from home and all that in this season that, I'm committed to helping you as a parent lean into understanding technology and understanding how to control what's happening in your home. I've taught parenting classes on this, teens and screens, teens and technology, all of that, but wanted to bring in some other experts, some other voices on this topic. And I've got a friend named Matt Philipenko, who is now out of Florida, but we used to go to church together back in Dallas at a church called Bethel Dallas. And Matt has in this unique place where he works for Microsoft. He's a premier field engineer, basically meaning that he gets neck deep in code all the time, debugging all of this super tech stuff. So he's got this high level view of technology and what's available to the end user, but then also is really committed to helping parents, teachers, all kinds of different people understand how to use this technology and how to take control of what's happening in your home. He's got 4 kids, so this isn't just some theoretical thing. This is something he's implementing and practicing every single day in his home. So I'm excited about this because although I can give you the insight into the technology, I don't have teenagers yet. And so I'm not giving you how this is working in the context of a home with teenagers. And so Matt's going to give us some of that insight. He's put some great material together for us. So I'll go ahead and transition. We're recording a Zoom call for this. And so I'm going to let him kind of take over and steer through this. And we're just going to have a conversation for the next 30 minutes or so. And I hope this is helpful to you. At the end of the video, this whole document that Matt's about to show you and share will be available for download. So you can download it and kind of watch along, or you can just download it at the end and go through it as a recap. It's totally up to you. But Matt, man, thanks for doing this. Thanks for all the prep you've put into this. And I'm super excited to dive into what you got.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, so to kind of kick it off here, the biggest thing for all of this is for us to realize that like technology is necessary. I mean, it's a necessary piece of life, especially as our society and everything moves forward. I mean, you could even look at like our current situation with COVID-19. I mean, millions of people are working from home through technology, I mean, we're having this call on Zoom. You're in Texas, I'm in Tampa. And I think that as we realize that, we know that our children and our teenagers are going to be stepping into that realm. And if we don't know about it and our kids are teaching us, then we're backwards. So I think we, as parents, we got to jump out in front of it and try to get our neck around it.
That's so good.
Let me go ahead and share my screen here really quick, and then I will start the presentation.
Perfect, man. This looks awesome.
All right. So this first link here is essentially a top-level link to account.microsoft.com, and it talks about the family account. The big part here is that you can go out to this link, you can review it, you can look at options and kind of validate what it will do for you before you go through the process of creating accounts and getting it set up.
Okay.
From an agenda standpoint today, we're going to cover what is a Microsoft family, and then what's the configuration process for my family account, and then what processors or what types of things can I manage, and then at the end I'll cover a few things, a few other apps that we use in our house to manage devices. You can do a majority of the Microsoft family accounts, but the mobile devices is where these other apps really jump in and help us out. So kind of first off, a Microsoft family it's a group of email addresses. So like familiar, like mine would be mattphilipenko@outlook.com. I'm the organizer of my family, and then my children all have Outlook accounts as well. So you can set up my account as the organizer, and then I provision my children's accounts as children. And there's different parameters for age levels as well. So if you have like really small kids, like 3 to 10 years old, or you have 15 to 18 years old. I mean, there's different metrics for each one of those age levels, so it gives a lot more of a granularity. So it's not like a one size fits all option.
That's cool.
Um, yeah, yeah.
So
So
I've got a
that
5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 4-month-old. So I would set up a different level of filtering different things than you would. Like my daughter's not playing Fortnite, right? So that's not as big a deal to me. But to where you guys, you can go in there and set up different things. It's not one size fits all.
Yeah, yeah, like yours, you could set up like YouTube Kids, and you could provision safe searching on YouTube Kids, so that way anything that comes up on YouTube Kids isn't inappropriate.
Gotcha.
To where like my 15-year-old would want the full blown YouTube, but I would still have to monitor that and make sure that things aren't just completely unrestricted, just because
Absolutely.
there's so many things that can come through it. Um, One of the things on the Microsoft Family accounts that's pretty cool is as you create your account, which is the next piece that we'll jump into. Your first step is going to be signing in and creating your Microsoft account. If you already have a Hotmail account, a Outlook account, those are our Microsoft accounts. If you don't, and you have like a Gmail account or an iCloud account or something for your iOS device, or Android devices, whatever you're using for your primary email, you can associate that primary email with your Microsoft account. So when you click on all of these blue links in here are hyperlinks, and they link out to web pages. And on this one, it'll ask you to sign in. And if you don't have credentials, down at the bottom, you'll be able to click create new. And then when you're creating it, it'll ask you, hey, do you want to create one from scratch? Or the box underneath it will ask you, do you want to associate your existing email, like Gmail or any other type of email address that you can associate with this Microsoft account? And then once that's provisioned, you'll have your account, and then you go into family.microsoft.com and you can create a family group. And then once your family group is created, you can, down here at the bottom, it walks you through inviting other members. So on there, I would have Microsoft accounts already created for each one of my children. And then um, and then through that, I would just invite them to it. And as you onboard your children, they'll show up in a portal that I'll be showing here in a little bit. And at the end of the presentation, we'll jump into a live demo of what it looks like in the browser.
Okay,
But
awesome.
yeah, yeah. So the important thing is that you can link your existing accounts, so it's nothing new that you have to create, and then you don't have to manage multiple things.
Yeah,
Um, and then the other takeaway is that once you create yours and your wife's, um, once those two accounts are associated as organizer accounts, then you can invite children to that family group.
I see. And I think sometimes the temptation is, well, I'll just do it all under one account. I think sometimes it's like it's easier. I'll just create one Microsoft account and manage everything through there. Really, then what you're doing is you're making it more difficult as your kids grow up and start using their own apps and their own devices, because then now everything's tied to your account and it could be a mess. So even though this may feel like an extra step, the right way to do it is to create an account for each of your family members, right? Am
Yep,
I correct in saying
yep,
that? Versus,
yep.
oh, let me just go the easy way and set up one
Yeah,
account and we're all just on there.
and it actually, so it happened to my own family. My youngest, Trip, um, plays Fortnite, likes
Mm.
playing Fortnite. I have
How
content
old's
filters
Trip?
set up.
Remind me how
10.
old. Remind me
Uh,
how old all your kids are. So Trip is
uh,
10. He's the youngest, and they go all the way up to.
yep. Trip is 10, Jersey's 13, and Jackson's 15. Jersey's almost 14.
Gotcha. Okay.
Um, and then basically we've got Trip, and he started playing Fortnite. Um, and I've had my Matt Philipenko at Outlook.com account. I have an Xbox Live ID. Xbox Live ID and your Microsoft account are the same thing. They both
Correct.
link to the same thing.
Okay.
So um, Trip was playing with mine for a while. I mean, he
Mhm.
built up a lot of XP and stuff inside the Fortnite game. Um, and then I got to this point where I was like, hey, I'm managing Jackson's account through his email, but I can't manage Trip. And the reason why I couldn't manage Trip is because he was playing on my email. He's
Gotcha.
playing with my account. So I split his off to his own email address. And when I did that, he lost all of his progression through the game.
Oh.
Um, so I called Fortnite or emailed Fortnite, Epic Games, got a hold of them, and they said, "Hey, we do not do account merging. I'm sorry."
Oh, really?
Yeah. So So that whole thing happened. So now he's basically rebuilding his way back up inside the game because I made that decision at the beginning. I'm just going to let him play with mine because it's easier. So it's like, just like you said, I mean, don't want to stress it enough that starting out at the beginning with their own accounts is pivotal because
Exactly. Yeah.
my big thing back to Trip was, he goes, Dad, I can still play on yours. It's not a big deal. And I'm like, well, no, because when you leave my house, when you're 18, 20, whatever it is, when you move out, you're not taking my email address with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like,
That's really good.
that's my identity and I'm going to keep it.
Yeah.
So um, setting it up now, making sure it's provisioned and prepared correctly from the beginning is just a better practice to
And maybe
follow.
even taking the time to fix it if I've already set things up the wrong way, like what you had to do with Trip. Even though that's a
Yeah.
pain, doing that now is better than doing it. Like what they say, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is now.
Yep.
So like at least do it now, even if you've already kind of gone down the road of setting it up incorrectly.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just allows them to build up their content inside that application. Um, and then it doesn't make for such a hard scenario. I mean, we've had tons of healthy conversations with him where he's upset because he had such high levels
Yeah,
before,
I can
and
see that.
now he's started back at the bottom, and he's
Right.
getting beat in the game because his XP levels aren't high enough.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, so this next screen that I brought up here, this is a screenshot of the browser. So along the top, you'll see I'm signed into my account. You'll also see my wife Dana on the left, her account. My account's the second one from the left, and then Jackson, Jersey, and Trip.
okay.
And then along in the middle of the screen, you'll see Jackson's account first, and then Jersey's, and then Trips along the bottom. But in here, you'll see I can look at the activity log, and I'll live demo this once we get to the end of the presentation. The activity log will give me their current activity as of today and even the last week, whatever I want to look at. I can kind of roll back and look at everything.
That's great.
Screen time, I can go through and monitor screen time with their Windows PC or their Xbox One, and then apps and games monitoring. I can bring down the screen time specifically to the actual game. So like if it's Fortnite that they play a lot, or if it's Overwatch, or if it's whatever, or Minecraft, whatever it is, you can set the specific screen time for that game. And that way you could set, maybe you want 2 hours on Fortnite and an hour on Minecraft. And that way they're not like binging all weekend on Fortnite, like 10-hour days. Because
Yeah.
that's super damaging. You can kind of just become so secluded from society when you just game that long.
Yeah.
Um, and then also here, one thing to point out, my oldest son asked to buy 1,000 V-Bucks for Fortnite. It's a $10 charge on my end, and I can choose to allow it or deny it. If I chose allow, my credit card that's attached to my Microsoft account would be charged for that $10, and then he would get a message inside his Xbox console that says, "Hey, Dad approved your purchase. Go ahead and go get it," and then
Okay.
it would allow him to go get it.
And he could just use the $9.99 for that. He wouldn't be able to then go purchase anything else. It's that specific purchase that got approved.
That got approved. Yep.
Yeah,
Anything
that's
else has
cool.
to come back through.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So then
it
he
works.
could say it's not just you're loading money. That's what I love. I didn't know you could do this. It's not just you're loading money on his account. It's you're actually approving a specific purchase. Because I could say, Dad, I need $10. I want to buy 1,000 V-Bucks, and then maybe take that $10 and go buy an R-rated movie or some piece of content that has nothing to do with this.
Yep. Yep.
Not
Yeah.
that not that your
100%.
kids would ever do that, but I'm saying that in
Oh
that
yeah. No,
hypothetical
it's,
scenario, I would do that if I was a teenager.
oh, me too. Me too. I would find the back door. And that's what we
Yeah.
have to do as parents. We have to figure out, we have to think outside the box because kids are super smart. I mean,
Yeah.
like about 2 years ago, Jackson was playing a game on his iPad that we were trying to figure out. And um, they got jewels every day. They got like this replenishment of jewels,
Okay.
and he played it, he used them all, and then he played them again, and he goes, I'm like, how do you have more jewels? I thought you already played today. Oh no, I turned back my screen time clock. So he went into the iOS device and rolled back the clock to the earlier day, set
Oh.
changed the time zone so it enabled him to get more of these jewels and tokens. So
Oh,
it
yeah,
at that point I realized I need to start sprinting to stay ahead of these guys, because I mean otherwise they're gonna pass us. Um,
absolutely. I liked what you said at the beginning too. We can't wait until they figure it out and then try to catch up. We've got to figure it out. We got to be one step ahead of them.
yeah, it's really important. Um, so this is the overview of like our whole family, and I'll do a live demo at the end where we can kind of push into each one of these activities.
Super cool.
Um, from an activity report, if I click on activity, like you can see is activity day for that day. Um, and then on top of activity reports, you'll get like if my email address is the organizer, I'll get an activity report for each one of my children. So each one will once a week will send me an email. Or it'll be an automated email from Microsoft on their account activity. What browsers they used, what sessions they used, what apps and games, different stuff like that. And then again, each one of these link out to specific content on a Microsoft website. So if you hit turn on activity reporting, there will be like a little a toggle on the web page where you have to toggle it on and off.
Okay.
You can approve purchases through the parental controls. So on this one, my youngest Trip sent me an email and it says, hey, Matt, Trip wants to buy this fish head skin or whatever this guy is. It's $10. And I can either approve it or deny it. This was directly sent to my email. So what's nice is I don't have to be on my computer.
Okay.
It can come to my cell phone, to my email, and then I can open the email on my cell phone and click on approve, and it'll bring me out to a browser session in like Safari or Edge if I have Edge on my mobile, and then allow me to make that to approve that purchase form.
Gotcha. Okay. And you could add money, like the scenario I talked about earlier. You could just straight up add money to their account. I'm seeing
Yeah,
there if you
yeah.
wanted
Sorry.
to,
Yep.
but you could also just leave it to individual transactions. So you could, if you
Yep.
trust them, if you're on a different level of filtering, you could say, here's, $25 for this month, do whatever you want.
Yeah, and under the add money, you can add that for like let's say it's their birthday and you want to give them like $50
Yeah.
of Microsoft money. You can just put $50 on there. And one thing you can do, there is a parameter, like a setting inside the ad spending account,
Okay.
where you can say, ask me to approve every transaction or don't ask me.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if
Cool.
I have don't ask me on, they can just spend $25 on whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
If I have ask me for every transaction, that means every time they want to purchase something, it has to go
Love
through the
that.
parent. Yep.
Yeah.
The individual screen time, this is the apps screen time section. So this is a call out for the Fortnite option here. I have mine provisioned to 2.5 hours for a weekday and 4.5 hours on a weekend. That does sound like a lot per day. My main reason why I tighten this noose up a little bit, you can see like during their first part of their spring break, they got up to like 8.5 hours a day. And we didn't even catch it because we were off running. We were doing cleaning and making sure, like just running stuff around. And then I get my activity report and I'm like, wow, okay, I need to pause this and make sure that we get at least an allotted amount of time. And then I can always approve more time. Like they when we log back into the browser after this presentation, they both asked for more screen time already today. So
like
based
while
on
we're
the
recording this, they're playing and they want more screen time because they've hit their limit.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So they've hit their limit, and I can either approve it or deny it, and I'll show you that approval process in the browser, and then they'll get a notification down at the bottom on their Xbox that'll pop up and say, "Hey, screen time extended for 2 hours or 1 hour."
Nice.
So it's a nice little deal, and it works really good for virtual parenting. If you need your garbage taken out by your oldest son, you just say, "Hey, my garbage needs to go out," and then the minute he takes the garbage out, you'll see a screen time request come in for more time. So it's kind of good. You teach them how to negotiate.
Yeah, incentivizing it. That's awesome.
Yeah. So this next screenshot is the apps and games limit. You'll see Fortnite here at the top. That's the app that I have turned on. I have that turned on because I see the most usage. Like on this right-hand side next to each toggle, you'll see the amount of time that they spend. I turned the Fortnite one on because it was like I said, when I wasn't monitoring it, it was like at 6, 7, 8 hours. I mean, just a lot of time being spent on a game.
Mm,
So that's when we shorten that time frame up. So you can essentially the point that I'm trying to make is you can leave all of these off, and then if you see like excessive usage, then you can go in and see, okay, what is the usage? What are the peak times? It'll show you a day by day line chart
yeah.
to show you, okay, on Wednesday they played for 4 hours, but on Saturday they played for 12.
Okay.
Um, so it'll help you figure out what type of levels you need to set.
And this is per kid, right? So
Yep,
this is the app. You're not seeing the family as a whole, so you wouldn't be restricting uh trip for something that Jackson is doing and vice versa. You're just
correct.
restricting time per kid.
Yeah, everybody gets their own individual times.
Gotcha.
You'll even see it here where I have what did I set, 9, 8 a.m. Um, I set these because I had it automatically defaulted to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. But what I saw was Saturdays they would wake up at like 7 o'clock in the morning and jump on the game.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, whoa, dude, that ain't happening, not in my
Right.
house. So
Right.
I set the start time to 9 o'clock, and then
Okay.
now they know even if they wake up, they're gonna have to wait till 9 a.m. in the morning to turn on the game system.
That's good. It's a good
So
boundary, yeah.
it works really well because I mean it's I mean I went through a lot of stuff in my own personal life, and I know when like in those quiet times is when the enemy comes to seek, kill, and destroy us.
Sure.
So if we can force that quiet time to a specific time when adult supervision is present, then it
Yeah.
closes the gap. Here's what they'll see on on the actual Xbox itself. It'll say extend your screen time, and then they can send a request to the parent.
So I'm playing Fortnite. I've been playing for 2 hours 29 minutes, and then at the 2:30 mark, this pops up and takes over the screen.
Yeah, and you'll see little messages down at the bottom.
Okay.
It'll pop up and say, "Hey, Jackson, you have 15 minutes left."
Gotcha. That's cool.
So they kind of know ahead of a time because
That's super cool.
with Fortnite, one of the challenges is you play these. I don't even know the game that well, but you play these matches with another
Hmm.
with a group of other people, and when you're playing that match, if your screen time ends in the middle of it, like you basically lose that match, and then all of the people that you're playing in the session with, they lose it. Like there's a lot of downsides to just killing a match in the
Gotcha.
middle of it. So
Yeah.
that way, like they know how long it usually takes to play a match, and do they
Uh-huh.
have enough screen time for that
So
match.
if I got 6 minutes left, I probably shouldn't start a new squad match or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then here's on an email. This is a request from Jackson to extend the screen time. In here, they come directly to my phone or to a browser, basically whatever email I have set up,
Okay.
and then I can choose 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 3 hours, whatever. I mean,
So
whatever you want to set.
you're probably being more generous than usual with screen time with this whole quarantine thing right now, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Because there's not a lot of like we'll like as a family we'll go on bike rides every day. We'll go like all of our kids love to rollerblade. So and we live in Florida, so it's a little different.
Yeah.
But we'll go bike riding. We'll go rollerblading. We yesterday they jumped on the trampoline with the sprinkler, and I mean we'll do outdoor activities. But what's nice is if um, I'm in control of these screen time hours. So like at yesterday, they on a weekend they had 4.5 hours to play. Once they hit the screen time, it locks the device and won't allow anymore.
Yeah.
So then they can come and they get forced to go outside or do whatever, something away from the screen. And
Mm,
then once we get done having fun as a family and we've played our time, and Dane and I want to sit down and watch a movie, I they can go, hey Dad, can I have more time? They can, and I have words. I just say send it, and they
right.
know send it means okay. Go into the app, request screen time, and then I'll get the notification on my phone. and I'll give them, if our movie's going to be like an hour and a half, I'll give them 2 hours,
Gotcha.
and then that will allow them to play a little longer.
Love that.
Yep. Yeah. So it works really, really well. Um, so that is the Microsoft Family account stuff.
That's so
And then,
good, man. I'm glad you covered that really well because I'm a big Mac guy. And I have an
mhm,
uncle that works for Microsoft. I love Microsoft products. I'm just not immersed in that world. I have an Xbox and that's about it. And so I know a lot of our families use Windows devices, use a lot of Microsoft products. And so to have that kind of insight there, thank you for bringing that, man. And
yeah,
then
yeah, and
whatever else you
absolutely.
got, man, just throw it at us. We'll soak it up.
Yeah. Yeah. So these other things are tools outside of the Microsoft parental controls that we need to use just because the Microsoft parental controls can't go to this granularity,
Mm,
and I need it at this time on their devices. So the first thing I do is Apple Screen Time. This was added in most phones right now. You're at the version of iOS that has Screen Time enabled. Um, it's really easy. There's a billion YouTube videos on it on how to configure and set up Screen Time. So just go out there and check those out. But what I wanted to do is include a couple screenshots. So the overall screen time of what their day looked like. Um, One thing I did for myself too is I turned on screen time on my own phone just to monitor how many pickups I had. Because at
mm.
my worst, and I say at my worst because I've gotten better. At my worst, I was picking up my phone almost 700 times a day.
Whoa.
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
I mean, every day, like every 5 seconds, boom, 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 and every pickup gets triggered on screen time. So like, it's so convicting when you turn it on, and you're just
Yeah.
like, man, okay, I'm gonna fix this, and now I've been very persistent about pickups and making sure that I stay at a reasonable number, because when I was at 700, I just saw that and I was
Wow. Yeah.
super concerned.
Yeah.
Um, and then on the right hand side on this lockdown mode, this is what all of the apps look like. They can request it to be unlocked. So if they click on one of the apps over there,
Okay. So the ones that are
it
grayed out are blocked due to screen time. They're grayed out and there's a little hourglass next to them. Those
correct.
ones are locked due to my screen time restrictions that have been set up.
Yep, that's correct. And then I can unlock them. They can click on it and send me a request, and then I'll get a notification on the left-hand side where it'll say,
I
"Hey,
see.
so and so wants Instagram more time," and then I can click it. I type in my passcode as a parent for screen time, and you can share that. Like, what's nice about screen time is it goes to Dana's phone and my phone, so
Oh,
either of
cool.
us can approve the time. And then you can set up time on each one of the applications as well. So like I could set up during my lockdown, there's specific apps on that right hand side that are always unlocked. So like
Mm,
phone and message, like your core primary apps that are like necessary to like safety, you
mm-hmm.
leave those will never lock, but
Okay.
everything else will lock.
Awesome.
And then this is kind of an overview of device monitoring. Like we talked about Xbox and PC. You can use Windows Parental Controls. Our whole home, we use a thing called Disney Circle.
Yep.
And then for mobile devices, you can use Kids Locks, SafeKid, and Life 360. And I'll kind of jump into each one of those. The on this Disney Circle piece, I called out the Orbi router on the right-hand side. What's nice about that is if you buy a router that is pre-configured with Disney Circle, and you can usually see that on like the specs for the router,
Mm,
um, there is no box that they can unplug. So like
mm,
my oldest one day, he goes, "I know how to get rid of Circle," and I'm like, "Okay, tell me." And he goes, "I'm going to go unplug the Circle of the box." And I said, "Well, our Circle is embedded inside our router as
mm,
code on the actual board. So there's not a device in between. Like if you go online to Amazon and you buy Disney Circle, it's a square,
mm-hmm.
and you basically go off of your router and you plug the Circle in, and then it takes over all the devices and you can manage. But if you buy a router that's configured for it, then there's no middleman.
Yeah.
It's your router and it's the internet, and there's no way that anybody could go in there and take Circle out of the equation. It's on and it's there.
Yeah, or what I've noticed is you're adding another moving part to this whole thing. So I've used Disney Circle for years. I love it. I bought it on Black Friday a couple years ago, and then The problem is I don't have a teenager that's going to go unplug it, but we have power outages every once in a while. And what I've noticed is the internet router will reboot, but the circle will require like a mandatory, like physically unplug and plug back in.
Hmm.
And if for the time that doesn't happen, the filtering is just unmonitored. But
Yeah.
I bought the Netgear Orbi mesh system at the end of last year, and I didn't know that it was built in, but it was built in, and so now we don't have that issue anymore. Like if you
Yep.
configure Disney within the router, if the internet goes down, the filtering, or if the filtering goes down, that just means the internet has gone down overall.
Yeah. And
So
I use it all the time. Excuse me. One of the cool uses, my wife's mom is Seventh-day Adventist, so she'll come to our house on weekends, and on Saturday it's their form of the Sabbath. So
right,
there's like no media, no video, no TV
okay,
when Grandma's at the house, and what we do to make sure that happens is, like, on the right hand side of the screen you can see your home.
mm-hmm.
um, I have all of our devices except Dana's cell phone and my cell phone under home. So when Grandma comes to town and she's at her house on Saturday and it's on the Sabbath, just to not offend her and make sure that the kids aren't like watching movies or doing something that's going to offend her, I pause the internet in the whole house.
Gotcha.
And all of the TVs, like, they'll turn the TV on and want to watch Netflix or something, and it'll say
Uh-huh.
connection error.
Yeah.
And my youngest even came up and he goes, "Dad, why is it when Grandma's here the internet's always broken?" I'm like, "I don't know."
Because that's what
That's
it looks like on Disney
Yeah,
when and that's what my daughter thinks. She just thinks the internet's out, like YouTube's
yeah,
broken right now. If she's
yeah.
hit
I
screen time, it just looks like the internet's not working.
Yep. They'll always yell at me from another room, and, "Dad, you need to reboot the router." And I'm like, "No, I don't have to reboot anything. This is I personally did this."
So encircle each of these icons here on this picture, they're profiles. So you have a profile for you and Dana that's separate, and then you have every other device in the home under the home profile, so you can just pause the whole home. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So I have each. So I have all of my devices, like my Surface laptop from work. I have a Surface laptop, a Surface Book, and then we have TVs, like our bedroom TV that we have, our Google in our room. We have a Google Dot in our room. Dana has a Google LCD in the kitchen.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of devices, like our front door, back door, all of the cameras in the house that we have are
Mm,
all underneath Dana and I, and then all the family devices are underneath the house in
that
the
makes
center.
sense.
But then each one of the kids' profiles have their Surface and their
Okay.
phone and their Alexa. They all three have Alexas in their rooms,
Mm-hmm.
and so each one of them have 3 or 4 devices underneath their account.
Gotcha.
And then if for some reason there's disobedience, I need to pause it, I can just click on I log into the app, I click on their profile. Up at the top on the top, I can hit the pause button, and it pauses all their devices in their room.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So their phone doesn't work anymore, their laptops don't work, their Xbox doesn't work, their Alexa doesn't work, because sometimes
Yep.
they'll just go in and turn on Alexa really, really loud and listen to music, and they'll turn that on and it'll go ding, 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 check your network,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it just it so it
You got them on
it's
lockdown, bro. That's awesome.
it's a great tool. I mean, this Disney Circle is
Yeah.
phenomenal. So it's
Yeah.
um, so I use it for
And
the
what
the
is it,
whole
like
home.
$100 for the box? If you buy the box, it's like $100, and then if you buy a router with it built in, it just comes built in. There's no extra cost or anything, right?
It's I think it's $5, something like that, for the actual Disney Circle fee.
Gotcha. Okay.
There is a monthly service charge, but it's pennies
It's
compared to
minimal.
the
Yeah.
yeah, what you get out of it.
Very cool.
One of my favorite things that we use is called SafeKid. And I was told about this at the end of the presentation. There will be a thing called the Reset Group. It's a guy named Joe Jardine that developed this group. But SafeKid is one of the apps that he recommended. What I like about it is you walk through the configuration with their Apple ID and all their stuff. You basically have to. It's a pretty hefty configuration process, but there's a ton of YouTube videos. Their onboarding process from the app is very self-explanatory, so it'll walk you through step by step on how to enable things. Um, When this is enabled, though, the nice thing that's about it is it will give you browsing history in Safari. It will give you the contacts list. So any new contacts that get created on the phone,
Oh,
it's down here on that left side of the image. It'll, just like your phone notifications, like the little red dots,
oh
it'll
yeah.
provide a dot over it saying, hey, they've added 3 new contacts, or they've had 3 new chats today. Um, it monitors the full chat on the phone, and it also monitors images that come through the phone as well. So if they're texting pictures back and forth to them and another child, all of
Wow.
that's monitored through SafeKid.
So this you
So it's,
use on top of Disney Circle. So Disney's almost like the in-home, and then this is everything else,
yeah,
like
this
on a
is
much
anywhere.
deeper level. This they don't have
Yep,
to be in your house for this to be monitoring, because Disney Circle is associated with your Wi-Fi network. This is just that anything on that kid's device.
yep,
Okay, whether they're in
yeah,
the home or
it's
not.
yep. So I use SafeKid, Screen Time, and Life 360 are all external home management tools, and then
Okay,
the internal home management tool is Disney Circle.
very cool.
And then on top of that, one of the cool things that it allows is on that left side, when they do install an app, you'll get an email about the app being installed. And then also different levels that are deemed by the app developer. Like they have to set these priorities in here. And then SafeKid has a huge database of all these applications and the back doors of the applications. Like for a long time, people were letting their kids use Musical.ly everywhere. They could just
Mm,
download it and use it. But no one really knew that there was a chat within Musical.ly where these people, these pedophiles, crazy people could
yeah.
log in and make contact with your child
Wow.
through the app. So it's pretty
So it's
pretty.
another layer of it's. It's kind of like, because nowadays you'd have to call and go, hey, have you heard of this? Or I would call someone like you and go, hey, Matt, have you heard of so and so? Or now this is catching it prematurely, so that I don't have to know anybody that's into this stuff.
Yep.
It does the research for you.
Yeah, and you can make your own um, decisions on, hey, where's my line? Like if they can
Mm,
do an X amount of stuff in this thing, where is that spot where I say no?
right.
And then if, like, one thing I do with Trip, when you're under 13 years old on iOS, it requires parent approval for every app installation. When you're over 13, it doesn't. So my 13-year-old and my 15-year-old can install whatever they want.
Mm,
But what I do is I get these emails, like on this left side, I get these emails with a report of what they installed. So
gotcha.
like there will be a validation period where I go, hey, why'd you install this? What do you use it for? And if it's not good enough, then what I can do is I can roll right back to uh, screen time, which is here, and then I can, on that right hand side, you'll see that the app store is blocked.
Mm.
Um, that's what you can do with the screen time. You can just block the app store, and then
So
they
no
can't
new apps are
install.
getting downloaded no matter what.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
yep.
makes
So
sense.
once that trust gets broken, you can just shut it off.
Very cool.
And then the third app that I use is Life 360, and this one is primarily around um, location awareness. I have each one of their schools set up, so when they get within 50 feet of their school, it sends a message to everybody that has the app. Our whole family has the app as a group, so all of our phones blink and say, Jackson arrived at school or Jersey arrived at school. And then it does the same thing when mom and dad get home. Like we get to our house, it beeps and says, hey, mom and dad just got home. Um, and then what I like about it is when you get older and you have kids that drive, you can turn on premium features with Life 360, which will give you driving reports. And then it will also give you speeding reports to where it will give you an instant message through the app automatically and say, hey, so and so has exceeded 50 miles an hour in the 50-mile-an-hour
Wow.
zone. So it does an immediate message to you, so you can basically call them out and say, hey, I saw you were on Bruce B. Downs and you were going 60 miles an hour. Like what was that
Wow.
for?
Yeah, that's really good. I have a
Yep.
friend that uses this to monitor his teenage daughter, and same kind of deal. He'll just, and he'll revoke vehicle privileges if he sees reckless driving in there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It works really, really good. So that one's that piece. And then one thing that we're going to do is add a parent's guide to screens. This is from the Reset group. It's a PDF, and like Luke said at the beginning, I'll put this PowerPoint and this PDF in a directory. We'll get that uploaded so you guys can use it. And this guide to screens covers. This is where I found SafeKid, but it also includes a lot of statistics about what happens if we don't monitor stuff. And those are the things that literally like woke me up from sleep, because I was just kind of letting things roll. And it was those things, along with my own decisions in my life as a man. I mean, I made a lot of poor choices in the past.
Yeah.
And those things are the things that we need to walk with our children through. I mean, I believe that there's a point where they will make mistakes, and we have to walk through with them. But the most important part is to just not be naive and know that this is out there. So this is the PowerPoint piece. Let me quit sharing my screen here and then jump to the browser. All right, so this is the browser session. As you can see, I'm signed in. It shows all my accounts up here.
So this is right now, like this is back at the beginning of the presentation, you talked about the Microsoft Family Time, or whatever it's called, Family Monitoring. This is your account right now for your family. Okay.
Yep, this is live. This is Jackson, Jersey trip, and then Dana and I, as you can see, Dana and I are organizers set up here. But the boys, you can see, hey, they want more screen time. So like I can click on here and I can say, yep, let's approve an hour.
Something went wrong.
That's fun.
Probably because you've had that window open too long, waiting for me to show me.
Refresh it here. But basically
that
the
shows
nice thing,
point though, man, just the easy, like, you allow it or deny it based on.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your parameter there? Is this a behavior thing? Is this, I mean, right now, kind of all rules are out the window, maybe because of, not all rules, but because of quarantine, like I said, you're probably doing a little bit more than you would normally. What do you, as a dad, what is your kind of like parameters for that?
I set a amount of time per day. So like if I go into apps and games here, so like I have the screen time set per day.
Yep.
To 2.5 hours. It's here, but basically what I can do is, once they use that up, if they've done well and they've done their chores, they've done things all, like I was telling you before, that we have a phrase called, I'll just tell them send it, and my boys know, they know, okay, when dad says send it, I'm supposed to, I can go in and send him a request for more time.
Yeah.
And then I'll give them like an hour or 2 hours. And then you just kind of, you can increase or close that based on behavior. And obedience. I mean, there's a bunch of different stuff there.
Yeah, that's super good. And I think one thing you said that, I don't know if you said this directly, but something I picked up on here. This is not a one size fits all deal. This is you kind of set it based on your trust, the way you parent. This is going to be a really customizable based on your family.
Yes.
Not saying everybody has to run it like you do, but there's a lot of ways to do it in the same way you parent. This just is an extension of your parenting.
Correct. Yeah. And here's the spending category. When I was calling out like your options for allowing spending,
gotcha.
This is where you can set.
So you've got all these tabs at the top that let you control different things, like the content, the apps, the spending, the screen time.
Yep. Activity, screen time. Here's the apps and games where we're just
at. And this is all, I'm just noticing at the top there, this is just for Jackson. So this is specific to each person on the account.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I can set screen time. I have it off right now because of, I have it on for the Xbox One, but I have it off for the Windows 10 for his Surface.
Okay.
And the reason why I have it off for his Surface is, they're with distance learning. Florida, we're still doing distance learning down here.
Yeah, so are we. Yeah.
So that's a big thing. I don't want to have any blockers. If I have screen time on, I have to like walk up to their device and type in my password. And
okay.
So I I turn the screen time off. The monitoring is still there, but the screen time is they basically can use their device 24 hours a day.
Okay, that was my next
Um,
question. So this is still monitoring the content. It's just not going to limit it based on how many hours they're on it, because these days they're on it maybe 6, 7 hours.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then here is where like I can go through and I can set this screen time for their Xbox.
gotcha.
Um, this screen time is different from the app and game screen time because this is how long I can use the Xbox for. And
I
you can
see.
even build as a parent, like you could put specific times in here to say, okay, from 9 a.m. to 11, they can use Xbox, and um, from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, they can use Xbox, and from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, they can use Xbox.
Very cool. Okay.
So you can pick specific times, and then you don't have to go into the apps themselves to distinct time spots for each app. You can just make it for the whole Xbox,
The whole
basically. That
device.
yeah, they have specific times throughout each day that they can play it, and if they want it outside of that time, when they open it, they have to send a request, and you can always approve it to give it to them outside of those hours. But in my experience, I see it's easier just to set my open and close times, and then go into the apps and games, and then go in specific here. And then
Okay.
as you one other thing I want to call out is the times that they have on these other apps. The reason why I turned Fortnite on was because I saw excessive usage. But if you don't see excessive usage, you don't have to turn it on.
That makes sense. And what I'm noticing too is, so on the top left there, limits will apply to desktop and Xbox One. So for Microsoft Edge, for example, I can use that on both my Xbox and my Windows PC. That's going to track my time across those two devices. So if I'm using it for an hour on the Xbox and 23 minutes on the computer, that's going to compile to that hour and 23 minutes, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
And you can even have Fortnite on PC as well. All of the cross-plat,
Yeah. Okay.
so you can have them on Xbox or the Windows device. So that's another nice thing.
Yeah.
My boys have figured out very quickly that they cannot leave their app open if they're on the Xbox and they look out and they leave it.
Yeah.
It's still eating that screen time. So what they've learned to do is just completely power down the Xbox when they're done playing.
Okay. I see.
Um,
Okay. That's cool.
but yeah, that's it. I mean, that's kind of the whole setup.
Man, that's awesome. That is so, there's so much to this that, like I said, I'm not at the point where I necessarily need to set this up for my kids. But I know a lot of parents watching this are, and probably feel maybe behind the game or a little bit overwhelmed. But it seems like this whole deal is kind of like eating, how do you eat a whale, one bite at a time, or eat an elephant?
Hmm.
Either way, you eat it one bite at a time. So this seems like I could kind of, I just want to kind of release pressure. You don't have to figure all this out overnight. You start
Yeah.
small, start with just screen time, and then move on to content restrictions, or vice versa. And it seems like something like this you could set up in a way that is incremental. You don't have to have the whole thing mastered overnight.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
100%.
if I'm a parent trying to get control of this, I should probably budget a couple minutes, maybe an hour a day in the beginning, just to try to figure things out. And then once I get it to a point where it's okay, it kind of runs itself.
Yeah, and if it gets to a point too where anybody that's reviewing this, watching it, if you need help in it, I mean, you can reach out to me. Luke's got my contact information, and the biggest thing on the parents that I've helped walk through this, it was the account creation. That was the hardest part. How do I do all of this?
Mm,
Because like what you brought up earlier, where a lot of parents are at right now is they say, nope, you don't get your own Apple ID, you get mine,
right.
and they govern everything with their own Apple ID. But that's not gonna allow that child to leave your house. When they
Mm,
leave their house, they're gonna get their own identity, their technical identity, um, and when they get that, then they're gonna be able to do whatever they want with it. So it's for me, it was a thing where you basically give them their own identities at home with their email aliases, and then manage them, walk them through it, and then that way, when they leave your house, they're going to have good fixed practices on technology.
yeah. And I think it's, may as well start building that now. Whereas, Jersey's 50 or Jackson's 15, he's going to eventually go to college and have his own stuff. And so at least now he's got his own account and everything set up
Yeah,
already. versus having to start from scratch when he moves out. So I love that, man. Thank you so much. This has been super helpful. Again, just a whole other window into things that I try to stay on top of, but I'm not necessarily super familiar with. So I think a lot of this will really help parents. And I'll, like you said, I can share your email. So I'll put your info in here and let parents reach out to you if they have any Microsoft specific questions or anything that we can learn on a deeper level from this. But I think this is a great starting point. I think this
Hmm.
is super helpful. And I'm just so thankful for you taking time today to share this with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Was super fun. So look forward to chatting with you again, and definitely hit me up if you have any questions, concerns, anybody that's kind of running through any trouble.
Yeah,
Come
man.
get a hold of me.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Thank you
All
so
right, man.
much, man. Have fun in Florida, bro.
Yeah, you too. All right, see you, dude.
All right, see ya.
Bye.